Hi, welcome to Hearsay. I am your host, Diane Neal, and with me, as always, is my trusty producer, Danny. Hey, Danny.
Hi, Diane.
You look nice today.
Oh, thank you.
I look like
because I took like a midday shower as opposed to a morning shower. Because I was out being a dirty liberal.
So you're fresher than you normally would be.
A little bit fresher, yeah.
You know, I used to get so excited about stuff like that, Danny, until I ran, and then you realize what actually happens and how things are done, and you're like, oh, very little of it matters. Wow. Okay.
You know, I would have loved to have knocked on doors for you.
I would have loved that. You would have fit right in, too. That would have been fun.
You know what? Maybe never say never. Maybe you'll end up running again for something.
Maybe. You know what? I had this fantasy with the other Dan in my life, who was my campaign manager. He and I, well, first of all, he found this fabulous pair of shoes recently that were like American flag pumps. And we were like, okay, we got to find a use for these. And we were like, let's run for office down here in Florida. But I'm going to run as a Republican, as a real honest to God piece of performance art. So full on the Herman Cain, but really working it and just saying the craziest stuff like ever. Like, hey, look at you, brown boy. I love me Mexicans. You know, like, wow. Like, just like, you know, just really just to go off the rails, right? Like, there should be no social programs. Hell, like, if you can't afford a car that can go off road, you shouldn't go. Like, we don't need road. You know, just crazy stuff.
I would be in favor of this.
Yes.
But I'm convinced that this is how Donald Trump's presidency became a
This
theme.
is exactly, except, so, but the difference is when I get in office, right? Immediately, I'm going to go, ha! Ha! You know what you got, people? You got a liberal. You got a raging liberal. You didn't even know it. You didn't even know it. But look at, you know what? You never know by looking at my pumps. These pumps are like killer. Yeah.
Are they going to be leopard print?
No, they're the pumps that Dan found. Wait. Oh, our guest so we have a guest for today. There we go. I'm so excited about this. So, no, they're the American flag pumps that started this whole idea that I would run for office. Do you know what I used to wear? Because, like, obviously things were better than they are now. So one of my favorite pieces of footwear, first of all, I had these gorgeous, the row booties that were like American flag booties that I loved. But I also had a pair, which I still have, a pair of Gucci high tops with the snakes on them.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I'm bringing back Don't Tread on Me, but for liberals.
Yeah. No, seriously. I think it's more pertinent to us these days. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I did. I just wanted to see if I could get you to say that. Wait, hold on. Okay, can I tell you the fun? I can't believe that works. Okay, can I tell you the funniest thing in the world, Danny? Wait, hold on. I'm making sure that the guests get, like, I don't know why we never do this stuff ahead of time, but look at this. And there's someone else. I'm like, save it with Danny. Call you afterwards. Like anyone at home wants to listen to that. Okay. All right. Okay. So I'm still in my swimsuit. I'm still wet from the ocean. I smell like crab sticks, but I was standing in the ocean, Danny. I was standing in the ocean and I was talking to this woman, right? Because this is what people do. They gather in the ocean and watch the sunset, and everyone's from like all over the planet, and they all like to talk. So I was talking to this lady who was like, I'm going to do her very nondescript, like Eastern European accent. And I was like, she's like, it's a beautiful evening, right? I'm like, They always sound sad about like everything, right? It's like, it is so gorgeous. It's so beautiful. And she's like, except I worry about this time of day when the ocean is milky. The ocean is milky. The ocean is milky. I think she meant murky, but I like milky. This time of day when the ocean, I worry about shark bites. I worry about sharks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh. She's like, I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you know, they generally try and avoid people. She's like, yes, but you know, with all the Russians or whatever, they're making so much noise. There's some Russians nearby making like just an absolute like atrocious amount of noise. Like it was very
like a
weird.
Random group of Russian.
There are tons of Russians down here. And
Really?
Ukrainians. It's truly bizarre. Like it's, I find it very, very weird. But like I say, oh, wait, okay, this is like a small aside in the story. This is something I always think about, Danny. Who was the first, right? Like, who was the first? Like, I want to know the first person from Somalia that showed up in America and ended up in frickin' Minnesota, right? And then called all of their buddies and were like, guys, like, I'm like, come to Minnesota. Right, because there's like a huge Somali community. And you're just like, who was the first dude? I'm excited everybody's here. I love that everybody's here. I just want to know who the first was of everyone in these very random, arbitrary places that called up all their buddies and was like, come on over. Like, I found a spot. So that's what this place is, this part of Florida, for like Russians and Ukrainians. Like, it is insane.
Yeah, it's always interesting how it's not.
Anyway,
like
sometimes she's like, with the Russians with making noise, it would attract them and, you know, urine. And I was like, urine? And then she's like, what I like to do is I like to put other people between myself and the sharks. And I'm like, okay, it's good to know. But I started talking to her, Danny. I was like, well, I wouldn't worry about the noise, right? With wild animals, the commotion, they usually tend to avoid it more than anything. It's not usually an attraction in any way, shape, or form. And I'm like, and this time of the evening, it's not really their feeding time. It's typically like 8 or 9 p.m. and most of them feed nocturnal. So I'm going on this whole thing. And then I'm like, also too, in all scientific studies that are out at the moment and in different journals, I'm like, there's no evidence that urine, particularly human urine, is a shark attractant. Are you with me, Danny?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so no risk of sharks is what you're telling her. Very little risk of sharks.
Right. But then do you know what I realized, Danny?
What?
I'm not a fucking scientist. Okay. I'm like not a marine biologist. I'm not a shark scientist. You're going to have to beep out that effing. But I'm none of those things, Danny. I am absolutely 0% of those things.
You do have like a lot of scientific credentials, right?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I do. And I read, but still, I mean, the way I'm like, who the hell do I think I am? Just like the authority on sharks today, just standing out in the ocean, just giving people facts about sharks, you know, like, you got no need to worry, you know, like what? Honestly, like what? It just struck me. But, you know, it was really weird. I don't know who she thought was peeing. You know, was she paying? Did she just assume that the Russians were paying? I don't know who was paying in this situation.
She's like, clearly, because Russians here, many pee in ocean.
There we go. Like, I'm on whatever. Yeah, many fish pee.
So, but that's like, is that true to the best of your knowledge that you really don't have to worry about human urine attracting sharks?
Yeah, actually, in every study that exists about it.
Nice.
Any urine, but specifically human urine, doesn't seem to be any kind of attractant.
What about blood?
Yes, 100% blood is. Yeah.
Blood does attract them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Even primate blood. What if you're a vegan?
Yes, actually. Yeah. I don't think being vegan turns you into a vegetable. I think you still have blood. Like,
okay.
I think you still have blood. I could be crazy, but I'm 1,000% sure. Okay, I just said there's, I don't know, I sent the link. So What else is going on in life?
For me personally, or like in life in general?
Either one. I'll take either.
Well, honestly, there's not really much going on in my life personally. So, but I will say there's been a lot of crazy things going on in life in general, right?
Well, it's kind of a nonstop barrage.
Like, you know, what's one thing that I'm really excited about?
Tell me.
My net worth just
Yeah.
hit 0.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Like you paid off all your loans or something?
Like $20,000 of my loans are getting canceled.
No.
Yes.
That's fantastic. So wait, tell me. So I don't really understand. I look at the deep sand ear itch. That's like, oh my God, there's sand in there, Danny. Okay. So wait. Because it's one of the few things, and I'm like, I didn't even look into it at all or read anything about it. So how does it work?
So for anyone that makes less than $125,000 a year, or $250,000 if you're a joint filing situation, you get $10,000 knocked off your student loans. But if you were a Pell Grant recipient, meaning that you were like poor enough to get, in addition to loans, also grants to help you pay for your school, then you get $20,000 knocked off your loans. Yeah. And then actually what's even better than that, though, because that's amazing, but what's better than that is that they changed the whole like repayment situation to where if you're on a payment plan, it's like for a long time I was on a debt, like an income-based repayment plan, right?
Right.
Which is awesome because I wasn't making enough money to really, for a significant amount of time since I graduated, I wasn't making enough money to like really pay to make a dent into it. And so they were like, okay, hey, we understand like just because you have a degree doesn't necessarily mean that you make a lot of money, so you only have to pay X amount. The problem is when I paid X amount, it was less than what the minimum payment of a loan typically would be. So the interest was like increasing the amount of loans that I had. Yeah.
And you could never pay anything more than that part of the interest.
Yes. So a lot of people end up in a situation where if they
it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah. And that's how that's why there are people that are in like their 40s, 50s, like they haven't gone to school in like 20 years or whatever. And yet somehow they have $500,000 in loans. They started out with like 50 or whatever, you know? So this actually changes it to where if you're on an income-based repayment plan, now they won't tack on the interest as well. So your loan won't grow. And then
that's huge, right?
Yes, that's huge. And then on top of that, the amount of money that you have to pay back, it's been based on your discretionary income, right?
Right.
But there's certain things that the government has never like counted towards that discretionary income.
Right.
Like for instance, if you're living in a high cost of living area, they don't take that into account.
Gotcha.
I'm not sure how they're gonna actually calculate it now, but I guess they're not gonna think that you have a discretionary income that's larger than it is, like they've done in the past.
Okay, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so payments should be less. You're not going to be getting more in debt by paying your minimum. It's like honestly, like I'm super, super happy about this.
Oh my gosh, do you see this? They say they're here.
Oh yeah, there we go. All right, I'm gonna admit them.
Hi, Coley. Where are you in the world?
New Jersey.
What part of New Jersey, if you don't mind saying?
Sussex County, the highest tip of New Jersey.
Oh, I know Sussex County well. That's exciting.
Yeah.
We can't see you very well, but we know you're there because we see you in silhouette. Yes. Hey, there you are.
There we go. Okay.
Oh my gosh. This is Danny, by the way. Danny Coley. Cool. I'm Diane. It's a pleasure. It's so nice to meet you.
Hi, Diane.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Oh my gosh. So what are you up to tonight? I mean, other than hanging out with us? Obviously, this is our Saturday night. We're living the dream.
I'm preparing for a walkthrough for the camp I'm volunteering for tomorrow.
Oh, really?
So I have the walkthrough tomorrow.
What are you volunteering for?
It's a camp called Lesapalooza.
That's
and
awesome.
It's for women-loving women and non-binary people who are comfortable in women-centered spaces.
Nice.
And I'm just really excited.
How old are the people that attend the camp?
Over 21.
Oh,
So
it's that kind of camp.
Yes.
Oh, it's going to be like a real fun camp. How long does camp last?
3 days for volunteers. It lasts 4.
Oh my gosh, that's wild. Oh, that's going to be crazy fun. Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm so excited. And I'm teaching a workshop at it, and I'm just so excited.
Okay, wait, you have to tell, what are you teaching the workshop about?
Poetry.
Very cool. That's very cool. You're a poet.
I am. I have 3 self-published compilations.
Oh my gosh, brava. That's amazing.
Thank you. I'm working on my 4th right now, actually.
Oh, that's so cool. Danny, I mean, it's not often you have a poet in your midst.
Yeah, this is amazing. I did read that you're a poet in your bio, and I was like, huh, interesting.
Yes.
Can we bother you to read us a poem?
Sure. Let me just pull one up on my phone really quick.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem.
I mean, to put you on the spot, but I do love poetry. And Danny loves his Chablis.
My Walmart wine.
I just want to call it a Chablis. I don't know if it is or isn't, but I just want to call it that because I feel like saying Chablis. Chablis.
What's amazing about this wine is it's too cheap to have a name.
Wow.
Other than white wine.
Does it just come in does it come in like
that
a plain?
That is awesome.
Yeah, right? Like, yeah. I'm like, does it come in a plain box that just says like wine? And then and in parentheses white. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
wine flavored beverage.
Yes. Okay, speaking of, Coley, I was trying to just, when you break your phone, those days that you just like, I don't know if you can see the back of this thing. And I'm just, because I want to make sure that I'm not interrupting your poetry. So I'm just trying with all my might to turn the volume up on the thing. It's not working. So I just found another thing that's wrong with it. That's good to know. Okay, hold on. Let me just turn it down this way as much. Okay, there we go. That was really funny. Sorry. Coley.
So this is one of my latest poems that I wrote. It doesn't have a title yet. But it goes like this. She was told if she told anyone, she didn't really want it. She wanted attention, so she suffered in silence. No one knew until after it was supposed to happen, until after she met them, until after they hugged her, until she made it home safely. When she finally said they saved my life, people thought it was attention-seeking. But she didn't want attention. She never did. She wanted the pain to stop, and it had. And she just wanted to shout it from the rooftops. She was alive, and for the first time in what felt like forever, she wanted to be. Thank you.
These are snaps in case someone can't hear them.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that was beautiful, Coley.
Thank you so much.
I think that probably
Powerful.
Speaks to a lot of the people listening. It certainly does to me. Yeah.
Thank you.
So you're going to have Lesapalooza, which sounds incredible. And it's 3 days. How many people? You're teaching poetry, which is super cool.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're really good at it.
Thank you.
How many people do they expect is like Camp Lesapalooza going to have?
To my knowledge, I think we have about 200.
It's a lot of choices.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that camp is just going to be more of.
I got what you're putting down, Diane.
I'm just going to say you're going to have a really good time. Yeah. A lot of options. It's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun. Oh my gosh, what a good time you're going to have.
Yeah, I'm excited.
You should be totally excited.
My therapist is even in on me, like, helping me plan my workshop and everything. She assigned my homework is to outline my workshop.
That's awesome. By the
Yeah.
way, I mean, like this, poetry can be incredibly therapeutic.
Yes.
And for a lot of
my poems in my last books have been covering the sexual assault I endured.
yeah, I can imagine that would be a huge topic, but it probably helps, right? Does it? I mean,
it's very cathartic.
And then that's the thing, right? You just like, I mean, I know how that is. You just have to find the thing that helps the most for you. And if you have a talent for something like poetry, like that's a really good place to put it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know one of the professors at my college that I go to has told me in the past that I make a really good shotgun because a lot of my poems are dark. He's like, well, let's see you make a handgun. Give us something else.
So have you made a handgun yet?
I think I have.
That's cool.
But yeah.
Always hard to switch up styles, isn't it? Do you have a favorite poet at the moment aside from yourself?
Adrienne Rich.
Adrienne Rich. I'll look up some Adrienne Rich.
Can I ask you, Coley, like as a survivor?
Yes.
I've noticed that it seems that a lot of survivors are drawn to SVU, and then in turn have been really drawn to Diane because of her role of playing someone that has kind of given power and given voice to people that are in similar situations. Is that part of, do you think that's part of the draw for you to like SVU and how you kind of ended up in that universe?
Yeah, definitely. I started watching SVU before I was sexually assaulted. I started when I was like 13.
Wow.
I wanted to be an ADA for a sex crimes unit in a big metropolitan city.
Awesome.
But then I realized that requires a lot of confrontation, and I'm not confrontational.
Yeah. It's a good point. That's a very good point. You gotta know yourself, right?
Yeah.
That's a great question, Danny. I think a lot of, I mean, that's why like Mirshka and I did a lot of like rape crisis counseling and stuff like that because so many of the fans had, like just women in general. It's like 1 out of 4 will be sexually assaulted right in their lifetime, and then you add that to people that watch the show. It's just a huge chunk of people, and it's heartbreaking. Like you end up hearing these stories for decades, and it makes you. First of all, the thing that you realize the most is just how harmful it is to a human being.
Yeah.
It is almost worse than death because anyone it happens to has to like go through these horrible dark places and be like reborn before they come out the other side. And a lot of people don't make it.
Yeah, exactly. As you heard from my poem, I almost didn't. So
yeah.
And that poem was actually about Mariska and Miley.
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Mariska's done so much good and brought so much awareness to this that, I mean, can you imagine a world without Mariska, without Benson being around?
No, and I never want to.
No, like it's crazy. It would be how much darker the subject matter would be for everyone. Like it's crazy. It's crazy what the impact she's had.
It really is.
Okay, so Adrienne Rich.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite Adrienne Rich poem?
It's definitely a tie between Diving into the Wreck and Power.
Are they are they short enough to read? I mean, like, without. I'd love you to read one.
Power is definitely short enough.
Oh, will you pull it up?
Yes.
Oh, how exciting! And wait, Danny, do you have a favorite poet at the moment?
I had a poet that I found recently. Like, I'm not really that into poetry. Let me remember the name real quick, because he's like a super famous poet, but I'm I'm struggling to recall.
Is he that famous?
Like one of the most famous poets.
Okay. Can you still see me?
I can see you.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Well, while you're pulling,
Cummings is who I was thinking of.
Wow.
I really like
Love
E.
E.E. Cummings.
Daniel,
I love E.E. Cummings.
love
so
E.
much.
Cummings, but
I know. Like I said, I don't really
Wow.
like read a lot of poetry, and then I was like, oh, that's a really famous poet. Maybe I'll read some of that poetry sometime. And it's one of the few famous poets that I've actually read poetry from. And I was like, oh wow, this is why people like poetry so much, because it's really good.
Pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well discovered. I like it.
Yes.
Coley, did you find one of this Power?
I did.
Okay, I'm excited.
Okay, so this is Power by Adrienne Rich. Living in the earth deposits of our history, today a backhoe divulged out of a crumbling flank of earth. One bottle, amber, perfect 100-year-old cure for fever or melancholy, a tonic. For living on this earth in the winters of this climate. Today I was reading about Marie Curie. She must have known she suffered from radiation sickness. Her body bombarded for years by the element she had purified. It seems she denied to the end the source of the cataracts on her eyes, the cracked and separating skin of her fingers, till she could no longer hold a test tube or a pencil. She died, but a famous woman denying her wounds that came from the same source as her power.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
It's dark, but it's powerful.
Yeah.
Is that like this style that you kind of go for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find that's mainly where I'm gravitated towards.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So, all right, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
When you said that you're doing a poetry workshop?
Yes.
All right, how do you do your workshops? Because I actually attended a poetry workshop once, and I know, this is how I found E.E. Cummings. Anyways, when I say once, I literally mean one time. So I am really curious if like the way you do it is similar to the way they did it in the one that I attended, because it was like super liberating, super empowering, super like creative, really avant-garde and unusual. But that's what made it super cool. So like, how do you do yours?
So I'm going to be fully transparent here. This is the first time I'm actually running a workshop.
All right. No wonder your shrink had to make an assignment for an outline.
Yes.
I get it. Totally.
Well, I'm snapping because that's awesome. It's exciting.
It is very cool.
What's the plan?
I'm excited. So my plan is to kind of introduce poetry to people who may not understand it completely. So basic concepts like you don't have to rhyme if you're not writing these specific kinds of poems. And then I'm going to get into some figurative language like Temesis, which, Danny, you might know because you like E.E. Cummings. He uses Temesis a lot, and it's just an unusual break in the word.
Okay,
so
yeah.
He uses that Temesis a lot.
That's cool.
And personification and hyperbaton and all that fun stuff.
That's my favorite transformer, by the way, hyperbaton. That is big. That's my favorite.
That's what I was going to say. It sounds like a transformer.
I love that. It's one of my, every time I see hyper, like it makes me laugh. It's like, even if you have the Oxford English like dictionary, but there's one specifically for like poetry, it always makes me laugh. There's just so many good words. So many good words.
There really are. And then I'm going to go through kind of some of the different styles of poetry.
Nice.
And then my mentor, who's also a published poet, actually gave me an idea for an activity to do during the workshop because we're going to be outside and in nature.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. It's just like Danny's like getting mauled by an animal. Like you're just talking beautifully about poetry and your course, like your syllabus, and like Danny's just like about to have his jugular taken out by a small and very persistent dog. Yeah. Help me. Help me. Okay, I'm sorry. Please, okay, so yes.
Basically, I'm going to have the 15 or so participants in my workshop go and find something in nature. So a feather, a rock, a leaf, something of that sort, and write about it literally.
Ooh.
And then write about it in figurative language.
Oh, that's a great exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that sounds
awesome.
amazing. So it's like a good mix between educational and creative.
Yes.
Okay, well, this is amazing because this is a good opportunity for you to like give your like pitch then to the world.
My pitch?
Yeah.
Oh boy. I don't know what you mean by pitch.
So if you could convince anyone to go to your poetry workshop at, is it called Lesapalooza?
Lesapalooza, man. That is
Yeah.
amazing.
What would be your one-line way of saying it?
Come or die. Like hard sell right off the bat. Yeah, just
Come or don't, it's still a good time.
My pitch. Oh boy. Come learn how to write some kick-ass poetry.
Oh my God. Yes.
It.
How about this? What's the, I don't know. Okay. So it's Grinder. That's the gay one, right? Is it
That's
Tinder?
the gay dating app.
Okay. Is there one for lesbians that's different?
Yes, it's called Her.
Her?
Yeah.
That is very appropriately named. So you could just be like, up your her texting game. Come learn some poetry.
There we go.
Come learn some kick-ass poetry.
Learn some kick-ass poetry. Like, because everyone needs to step up their game.
Her.
Yeah. Totally pick up some ladies. Because you know what? you want the ladies that like poetry. That's the kind of lady
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I don't like poetry, I will only date people that do.
I want you to look up do you know what E.E. Cummings' poem this was, Danny?
No, actually, I do like poetry. I just have never like learned a lot about it, I guess.
You just need to sit down with like a volume of poetry and
I do.
That's like,
but
like you could get your glass of Chablis.
Yes, my my wine flavored alcoholic beverage.
That's right.
But yeah, I do remember the poem, actually.
What is it? What is it?
It's Anyone Lived in a Pretty How Town.
Okay, will you read it?
Sure. This poem, I just want to say, like, something about it really, really, like, stuck with me, and I felt like I had to read it, like, several times. Because it's one of those poems that, like, almost doesn't make sense when you first read it.
Yeah.
But then when you, like, think about it, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. I got to put my poetry voice on.
You got it.
Okay. Anyone lived in a pretty how town, with up so floating many bells down. Spring, summer, autumn, winter, he sang his didn't, he danced his did. Women and men, both little and small, cared for anyone not at all. They sowed their isn't, they reaped their same, sun, moon, stars, rain. Children guessed, but only a few, and down they forgot as up they grew. Autumn, winter, spring, summer. That no one loved him more by more, when by now and tree by leaf they laughed. She laughed his joy, she cried his grief. Bird by snow and stir by still, anyone's any was all to her. Someone's married their everyone's, laughed their cryings and did their dance. Sleep, wake, hope, and then they said their nevers, they slept their dream, stars, rain, sun, moon. And only the snow can begin to explain how children are apt to forget to remember, with up so floating many bells down. One day anyone died, I guess, and no one stopped to kiss his face. Busy folk buried them side by side, little by little, and was by was. All by all, and deep by deep, and more by more, they dreamed their sleep. No one and anyone, earth by April, wish by spirit, and if by yes. Women and men, both dong and ding, summer, autumn, winter, spring, reaped their sowing, and winter came, sun, moon, stars, rain. So it's an interesting, like, it's like the cadence is very like typical, I think. And then what I felt was interesting about it is apparently what it means is that like we're all going to fade into obscurity, but our lives are worth living anyways. So like he never names who the people are by name. He just calls them anyone and someone because it kind of doesn't matter in the end, right? It's very nihilistic in a way, but like in a beautiful sense. So
Right. That's good. I like that, Danny.
yeah, and that's the one poem I really fallen in love with.
It's a really good one. By the way, if anyone out there is listening that hasn't gotten it, just seriously, get a Chablis like Danny, pick up a volume of poetry. And another one, I would recommend everyone to check out Mary Oliver, who's been my favorite for the last few years.
Yes.
Ooh, do you get to read a poem by Mary Oliver now, Diane?
I can.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah? All right.
Yeah.
Let me look at my favorite so I don't butcher it. Because, in my head, I've got it down, but, I'm missing like a few here and there. Okay. This is, hold on. This is Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. Love Mary Oliver. Love Mary Oliver. Man.
That was wonderful.
Yeah.
So affirming.
Such a goodie. I always love that. If you grow up religious, you understand that when like I heard that first line, it's like you do not have to be good. You do not have to like walk 100 miles through the desert on your knees repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Coley,
Yes.
thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You're
This was
awesome.
fun. You're
Will
awesome.
will you let us know? Will you fill us in on how the camp went and how the poetry went?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not
Okay,
happening
cool.
till the end of next month, but
Oh, so we got some time.
yeah.
All right. How exciting is, oh my gosh. So wait, where is Lesapalooza being held? In Jersey?
In Sparta. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just
Yeah.
say that's the coolest name ever? I'm really jealous. Like,
It's
why
know,
didn't
they
why didn't the gay guys think of that? But like the cool gay version.
yeah, but that is, but Lesapalooza is the cool game. So like, what would it be? Gayapalooza? What would it be?
Right, exactly.
Nothing works as
I don't
well
think
as
anything could be as
Lesapalooza.
clever as that. It's
No.
amazing. It's perfect.
All right. So at least anyone knows where to go if they're looking for a good
Yeah.
time at the end of September. That just sounds like fun.
And why don't
Yeah.
you tell everyone what your Twitter handle is too? That
Oh,
way, if
yeah.
they want to follow you, they can follow you and keep
Right. They
keep
can
track
read your
of
poetry and buy your books and everything else.
My Twitter handle as well as my Instagram handle is Coli Marie X. So it's KOLI Marie X.
Nice.
Awesome.
We're all snapping.
Thanks,
Yay.
Everyone at
Coley.
home is snapping
Thank
for you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Toodles.
Coley was amazing.
She was amazing. A poet. I want
I love that we just had an impromptu poetry sesh. That was awesome.
It's so cool. I love poetry. I really do. I love my Ben. There's just so many. I love my Ben Jonson. I love my Byron, Keats, and Shelley. I love me some Yeats.
Could you recommend like just a general poetry book where like maybe people could get some variety of poetry? Like for someone like me, like the uninitiated folk.
Yeah. So there are probably hundreds of different kinds of this, just like an anthology of poetry. So like, but like some of them will be like an anthology of English poetry, an anthology of American poetry, but like if you get like an anthology of like global poetry from the beginning of time until now, there'll be some things in there that'll change your life.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up on Amazon.
I'll find like a link for one and we can put it up. Like I'll find one that looks like it has a good
an anthology of poetry from the beginning of time. From the beginning of time.
Yeah, and
now.
like a global one because you don't want
right.
like and there are great specific. I mean, with the poetry that comes from every different culture on Earth throughout time. I mean, you would the amount of volumes would be epic in scale. But, if you can get a couple pieces from each different culture through each time period of the best, yeah, it'll destroy your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
No, it's really good. So what else are you doing for the rest of the weekend?
Tomorrow I'm going to have like a wonderful Sunday, like a day off, like a rest day. I'm going to do nothing.
It's very biblical of you.
Oh yeah. I'm not even turning on a light switch, Diane.
Oh, wow.
No.
You're going full Torah.
Oh yeah. I might hire someone to do it for me. Not going to do it myself because is that your New York Jewish like impression?
No, that's just me acting like a bird that's listening to you. I don't know why. It felt appropriate.
I thought it was a very on the one hand, on the other hand.
On the other hand, it's like like one of those things like, oh, I was in Jerusalem. This is true. I was in Jerusalem for Easter. Actually, I was in Jerusalem for Palm Sunday, right? And so like everyone's putting palm fronds all over the place. And the Christian in me was like, oh, that's magical. And the Jew in me was like, who's going to clean this shit up?
That was awesome.
That's what I feel like all the time.
Have you visited Salt Lake City before? I'm sure you have.
Yeah, it's like a lot of times.
Is that supposed to be like Mormon Mecca?
Oddly, no.
No.
So like the interesting thing about Mormonism is that it's the restored, like it's like the primitive church. As in primitive as like when Jesus was on the planet, right? So
okay,
which makes it completely, if you know any Orthodox Jewish people, it's almost identical to Mormonism. Just take Jesus in and out, you go. Like you got one, you got the other. It's pretty much it. So it's like the restored. So Jerusalem is obviously very important. And then the Book of Mormon was found by translated plates. Don't think that I'm not aware of how crazy it all sounds. I am. Just know that. They were found in New York of the peoples from Mesoamerica, Central and South America. So that's important.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess. But it's like, yeah, it's where the head of the church is, like, the presidency of the church lives and stuff too. Okay. It's just, but Utah is so
it's more Jerusalem though. That's like that's more like the Mecca because it's still Christianity basically.
Yeah, it's still Christianity, and that's like that. But so it's like it's the weirdest.
That's amazing. I honestly like I'm one of those people where I just find every religion to be fascinating.
They are like they're wild.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's cool. I would love to learn more about Mormonism.
It's weird that, like, I will say this. So there are Utah Mormons, and then there's like the rest of the world Mormons. Like, so Utah Mormons are their own special sauce, where it's kind of like anywhere in the world with any religion, where the culture has come to dominate the doctrine, and like they're not the same. Like, they're not the same. So, like, you've got, like, say, like Islam, right? So almost everyone, okay, we've got this is fine. But then there are the people that the culture turns into something like ISIS, right? Like, it's like,
Right.
not really in line with the
original
doctrine.
teaching. Yeah.
Right. Not in line with it, but
Yeah.
culturally has just taken over.
Yeah.
So I think I just realized that I just compared Utah Mormons to ISIS, but I mean that
Not you were.
it wasn't intentional. It wasn't like a side by side kind of thing. It was just saying when the culture. So like the Mormon culture is so weird in Utah and has like nothing to do with the doctrine, but you can spot like a Utah Mormon from like 10 miles away. Like, it is like, oh, hey. Yeah.
I have been wanting to visit Salt Lake City.
It's beautiful. And then like go up into the mountains, go to like Park City. I mean, it's just it's stunning. It's like such a stunning state. But yeah, it's wild. Like, I don't feel particularly. It's not that I feel uncomfortable in Utah, but I'm just like, these are not.
You're like, whoa,
same.
I'm a different kind of Mormon.
Yeah,
not that you're different, but like it's just a different culture a little bit.
It's a different culture. So it's wild. It's like, I've heard that like you have all these friends, so they grow up in other places, right? So like, you know, my friend that is Pakistani, but he grew up in Saudi Arabia at Aramco. And so Aramco's like this American enclave that it's insane. It's like Spielberg's America, just in the middle of Saudi Arabia. So he grew up speaking English and with like a bunch of American kids and stuff like that, but he's Pakistan. You know what I mean? So when he finally went back to Pakistan for the first time, he was like, who are these people? You know what I mean? Like, we don't have a lot in common. You know?
Well, and it's like what we were talking with that one, Am I the A-hole that we were reading, where it's like,
oh my gosh, that's amazing, by the way.
When you're removed from your original culture, like your culture that you are a part of kind of grows to be its own thing independent of that. Like, like for me, it's funny because in the United States, I'm Mexican, but when I'm in Mexico, I'm just any other gringo. I just happen to
any
look
other American. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really interesting because it's like,
well, it's
religion
all about
or anything that we can define ourselves by never is the sole defining feature of us, right? It's always about like who we grew up around and the things you've been exposed to, the things you're interested in.
That's one reason I'm so like opposed to labels, because like I think once you label anything, it limits its possibilities because you've categorized it. Do you know what I mean? So that's why, like, even saying like, oh, I'm gay, I'm straight, you're limiting your possibilities. You know, like, like, I don't know, maybe I just haven't met the right woman. Like, I don't know. Right. Like,
yeah.
Like,
I have
legitimately.
heard you say that. Yeah.
And it's like, you know, like, and I don't feel like that's like on the horizon, but you have to leave the room open for possibilities. But it goes with anything, you know, like I'm Mexican. It's like, oh yeah, but you're still all this other stuff.
But Diane.
Yeah.
Would you classify? Yeah, I'm just saying, would you use the label as non-racist to define yourself?
Me?
Yes. Are you non-racist?
I think if you're white and you're,
I'm kind of putting you in a corner here.
No, I'm 100% racist, and I usually don't know that I am when I am. And you just have to hope that you're with people that love you enough that can point it out.
That was a beautiful way of getting out of that corner that I tried to put you in. You're like, I'm gonna acknowledge that I have implicit biases.
It's true.
That was gorgeous. That was the way the ways that you have with words.
But it's 100% true too. Like, I'm sure I've said some shockingly offensive things to people, like, and had no idea.
Okay,
That doesn't make it right.
I have a question. What's the most
Yeah.
offensive thing that someone has said to you without meaning to? Like they didn't mean that they're to be
Oh,
offensive.
people are horrible. They don't mean to be, but people say it's usually some, especially it's like, God, you're so fat in person, like something like that. And just like, and it's less Danny than like the words, and like you're aware that you've put on weight, like you're not living under a rock, like you know what's happening. It's the tone. It's like when they say it like that, like God, like they're like, wow. Wow. Like you're just
Yeah.
like, okay. You like we
They're
get
like-
it. Like yes. But that's exactly right. So it's more like it's usually something like that.
Oh yeah.
It drove me nuts like after there's just but people say whatever. People say crazy stuff all the time.
Oh yeah. Crazy things. I've definitely had a lot of people be like, "What? You're gay, but you don't act gay? That's so cool."
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, wait, what exactly about not being gay is so cool compared to
it's just, but
or gosh, yeah.
weird.
It's interesting.
I guess they're trying. Oh.
Yeah, that was more of a back in the day thing though. So nowadays I
It
don't
is
really
weird.
get those
Like
things.
we've talked about before, though. I think it is a truly bizarre thing that, like, at any point in anyone's life, anyone is expected to say out loud, "Who you like to fuck?" Like it's just weird. Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna have to beep that one. I'm sorry. I'm being real cussy tonight. I'm sorry. But like, it's just like it's so arbitrary. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to tell anybody what I'm into.
Right.
Yeah. Nobody needs to know. Like,
Yeah.
it's so weird that it's just like expected of a whole segment of the population. Like, oh, you have to do this.
It is interesting. I think that like I like your idea of like I like that you're not really into labels because I'm really not into labels either. And I feel like the older I get, the more out of touch with the youth I get because I feel like the youth these days are like super into labels.
Yes.
Like it's one thing to say, like, even when I say like gay or lesbian or bi or whatever, like, I really feel like those are more descriptors than they are labels. They're
right.
like ways to like kind of describe, like, hey, this is like
how you operate in the world.
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah.
Versus like, I'm trying to think of like some of the most interesting labels that I've heard, but some of them are very, very, very specific.
Very specific.
And I'm almost kind of like, okay, if you're just trying to describe a very specific thing, why not just use a few extra words to just say it? You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then you're not defined by it permanently. It's just kind of like, hey, this is kind of how I am.
Well, it's kind of like it's weird. So it's like cis, which kind of cracks me up. Because I'm like
sisters?
No, like, yeah, thank you. Okay, you got me. You actually got me there for a second. But it's weird because I'm like, okay, like, honestly, if calling me a cis, like, makes life easier for you, like, that's easier, like, awesome, go for it. It's great. You can also just say straight or, you know what I mean? Like, you don't, you got enough going on. You don't need to come up with clever words for me. Like, you got a lot happening.
Although I will say this, Diane, with the whole Neil Aquamarine situation going on, I'm not 100% sure you are cis. We'll never know, though. We'll never know.
Because I don't have to say it. Yeah, no, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm like Harry Styles. I'm a mystery. Isn't he? I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, so we are right at an hour. So I'm going to ask you the famous question. What's the button that you want to add to the show this week?
Oh, what's the button that I want to add to the show this week? Oh, I would just like to tell everyone, when you get out of bed every morning, you get a choice. Because the last few years have been really rough, and I've had more than a few, and it's like it's the unceasing nature of the duty that I've been living that has made it It's just really abominable, like a lot of times. But you realize today was like some sort of epiphany where I'm like, get off your ass, Neal. Like, just get over it and get on with it. Let it just get over it. You can wake up every day and decide you want to be a victim, or you can wake up every day and decide you want to be a victor and like conquer the damn day. Just give it a whirl. Like, what do you have to lose? You got nothing to lose. Who cares? Like, you're going to die anyway. Like, you might as well give it your all.
And this is why I love nihilism.
But from someone that's like genuinely spiritual and that thinks, like we're all going to heaven. But yes, because we're all going to die someday. Give it your best.
Yeah.
Give it your best.
I love it.
You don't even know when it's going to happen too. So like, just give it your all. Let's like give it our all. And all the junk that's happened to us and all the horrible things and the awful stuff that's ahead, I'm sure, for most of us. It's okay. It's all right. Let's just like, let's do this. But like, let's high five do it.
Let's end on a high five, yeah?
Yeah, all right. Yay. Yay. Oh, look, where did I go? Look, that's a white person high-fiving even.
We're so bad at it. It's because I was going for your hand instead of the camera.
Yeah, well, no, and I just went off entirely. Like, I'm over here. Like, I'm...
I love it.
No skills. Danny, you are an absolute delight. Thank you again for everything you do and being sweet. Coley was amazing. I'm so glad that, Coley, that you stopped by and that we got to have a bit of a poetry jam. Always fun. And everyone else, just have a good week. Let's try and be the victors. We're going to suck some of the time, probably a lot of the time, but let's give it a whirl anyway. And with that, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye, Danny.